Hi, welcome back to Conversations in Data, brought to you by Techsalerator. I'm Clara, your host, and every episode I sit down with someone building at the edge of data and AI. And today's conversation might be my favorite kind. Someone whose product is betting everything on AI, doing the work that humans used to do. My guest today is Gil, co-founder and CEO of Metadata. Gil's team runs autonomous AI agents that plan, launch, and optimize B2B marketing campaigns with barely a human touching any of the controls. We're going to get into what that actually looks like day to day. Gil, thank you so much for joining us today and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Clara.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I do have to start here. I did some research and found this. It's one of my favorite stories now in B2B and founder stories. So when you pitched metadata to a room of CMOs before the company actually existed, you went outside on a lunch break and changed your LinkedIn to make it real. Can you walk me through that moment and what did you actually have at that point and what made you brave enough or reckless enough to do that?
It's funny because I sometimes I get asked about this, and I'm starting to wonder if I'm the only one who did it. I don't think so. I think many entrepreneurs start this way, but I think sometimes after like some time passes, you tell a different story that might be different than the reality just because it sounds better. But this is the truth. I was invited to Bessemer Ventures Roundtable in Palo Alto as to panels and discussion with, I don't know, there were like 15, 20 CMOs there of growing companies. And yeah, I know I'm a software engineer, so I was different kind of person than the average CMO there. They were much more executive like if you'd like. And I told them about the experimentation methodology I've used in a few companies and kind of put together and how it helped me predict creating demand and pipeline. And they liked it and they asked me questions. And in the middle, some of them told me like, how can we try this? Or, if I wanted to do this, how would I go about it? And there was enough interest that made me think like I should just capture the demand right now instead of kind of pushing it away. And, I told them that I have a company and that's exactly what we do, which in full disclosure was not accurate at the moment. But it became accurate like 20 minutes later. So in the lunch break, or in the coffee break, I don't remember. It was like a very short break. I went to LinkedIn and I did it super quickly too, like recklessly a little bit, because I forgot to uncheck the button that says send this to all of your connections and post about this. So like it made a big post and I did not plan on that. I wanted to do like a stealth change of title, but instead it ended up being this big celebration. Everyone was like, congrats, good luck. And I was like, shit, there's no going back now. Like I already kind of said it's going to happen. So that was that moment.
Now, looking back at the story that you shared, would you tell a founder today to do the same thing? Fake it until it's real, or is that advice that only works once?
I think it's a good idea. I don't think anyone is ever ready to start a company or go on their own and do something that is outside of the comfort zone. By definition, it's something that people don't know how to do. I know I didn't know. I had no idea how to start a company before I started the company. So I kind of like tried a few things. And so, yeah, I would recommend people who feel like they want to start a company to just go and start a company. They don't even have to figure out what the company is about. They just have to decide that they move from being an employee to being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And I feel like in life, we're almost never ready for anything, just like you said. We just have to throw ourselves at it, right? So just jump for it and make it work and make it happen. Otherwise, no one else is going to do it for you. So I really appreciate
and you're going to
that.
end up, and sometimes people will just wait for that perfect moment that really never comes,
Never comes. But I appreciate that intake a lot, Gil. Thanks for sharing that with us. Now, talking a little bit more about the AI agent pitch. So Metadata's whole positioning now is autonomous AI agents running the demand engine, right? So testing, executing, and optimizing campaigns without a marketer babysitting every decision. For someone who's never handed a real budget to an algorithm before, what does that actually look like on a regular, Tuesday afternoon for you?
So it's evolving. Honestly, every day it's evolving. Like right now, this week, we're publishing 2 new skills. One is producing video ad commercials, like I think Super Bowl commercials, produce for you in 30 minutes for, I don't know, if last year it would cost you like 50 grand, 100 grand, the cost would be like in the thousands, maybe just like some AI credits and some API calls. And so if you think about those kind of actions,
Hmm.
it's almost entirely autonomous. The AI knows what works. It was fed hundreds of Super Bowl commercials, and it knows everything about the customer, their website, their product, what's their customers, case studies, screenshots of their product, etc. So it knows what to do. And at the final thing, it consults and convenes with a small team of AIs to figure out the best way to go. So it does the script for you, the scene by scene. This is just an example of something that is fully autonomous, and the marketer truly has to be comfortable at least let the first version, the first draft, let it go. Not be, people like to use the term human in the loop. I hear it a lot. And it's good to have
Yeah.
a human in the loop sometimes, but it's very temporary that humans in the loop. Humans are in the loop right now, but they're not going to be as part of the loop later, because AI is going to be able to come up with a 9 out of 10. The baseline, the first version would be so good that really you don't need a human. Human will only slow it down. And so for those kind of actions, it's fully autonomous. And of course, you get the first version, you decide it's good, it's not good. Not everything is perfect. And you give it some feedback, and it does version 2 and version 3. And then it is also perfect. And now there are other things. You mentioned the budget. I don't think I do, but I think that's, a system that I built, so I'm comfortable doing it. But I would say even I don't spend like hundreds of thousands of dollars with one prompt. It's not the reality. What is
Hmm.
the reality is I go and I set it up. I ask it, hey, I want you to set up a draft a multi-channel ad campaign with video ads,
Hmm.
and I want it to be a competitive takeout campaign. So like, go research my competitors, look at the reviews, blah, blah, blah. It will go and do all the work for me. I'll tell you the budget, how long, but it won't launch it. First of all, it will show me a plan. Hey, Gil, this is what I'm planning on doing. What do you think? And it'll tell me about the audience, the offers, the creative, the videos, whatever it is, the channels, the budget groups. And then if I think this is a good plan, then I click on the approve button. If I don't, I click decline, or I can always give it some feedback. It'll give me another plan and another plan. And if I like once I like the plan, I click approve it. And there is even a 60-second, again, I don't like the humans to always like, because, what if someone creates that and goes for lunch? Now they just lost an hour or an hour and a half. I don't know how long they have their lunch, but they lose an hour of work. So we put a small mechanism that you pretty much have 60 seconds to decide if you like the plan or you don't like the plan. Of course, you can remove that setting, but it kind of err to action. Let's go and try something. Now,
Hmm.
even once you approve the plan, it will only draft the campaign. It will launch it. So it will generate the creatives and the audiences and the offers. It will show you something that you can preview and say, this is great, all of it, or this is great, this is not great, change that. And when you're ready, you can launch it. So there is plenty of moments where you as a human can decide, give me a second to review before it spends hundreds of thousands of dollars on your behalf.
That is pretty mind blowing and extremely, extremely valuable insight. So thank you so much for sharing that again. And, it just made me think right away what before, it used to take hundreds, if not thousands of people hands on building something now. And that takes forever, right? So, and there's so much management and processes that go into it. And now it can just be you and a machine. But a quick question about your team. So what does it look like? Who do you work with closely?
So we have around 35 people, give or take.
Hmm.
Then, as we talked a little bit before, many of them are in Brazil. And the people I work with, one of the beautiful things about having a smaller company or a
Hmm.
smaller team, I would say, because we have about, I don't know, about 10 times the number of customers. But but one of the nice things about having a small team is that I don't have to separate myself from the employees or have any kind of management layer. Now, not to say that I'm doing all the one-on-ones that I manage everyone. No, it's not something I want to do. And I don't think that's something that is good for the company. But I have how do we call it skip meetings. So like we don't meet every week or every 2 weeks, but we meet, let's say, once a month. And in that 1 month, I hear and I learn everything about how this team member is doing, what they're working on, etc. We also meet as a company every week, and so we have plenty of opportunities to chat. I work primarily with the head of go-to-market on everything commercial, and my VP of go-to-market, and my head of engineering on everything technical. And then from time to time, I work with Rafael Argenta and Rafael Braga, who are both engineers and help me with some innovative things we're working on.
That's amazing. Alrighty, well, cool. You've talked about AI handing big company privileges to small teams, but small teams also don't have big company data infrastructure to catch mistakes before they get expensive. Is there a real risk that AI agents just make bad decisions and they're just faster decisions and more confidently that a human could ever do?
Yeah, well, the biggest risk, or what I consider one of the biggest risks with AI, is the agreeability. When you work with
Yeah.
artificial intelligence, you may think that you're the smartest person on planet. Every idea that you have is the best idea, is the right way to go. And if
Yeah.
you fall into that trap, you are absolutely going to make mistakes. I use two things to avoid that. One is just the instructions for the AI I always give it, doesn't matter what type of AI I work with, it's Cloud Code, my own version, whatever it is. I always tell it to be super critical, not people pleaser. Do not agree with everything I say. Check what is wrong and poke my ideas. The second one is I use this thing called the LLM Council, which is essentially outsourcing a decision to an objective group of artificial intelligent model. Like it goes to Gemini and to Grok and to OpenAI and to Anthropic and to Qwen, etc. And it will pose a question that will basically discuss and debate it for a minute and then come back with a result. It's a little bit more expensive, but it is absolutely mind-blowing what you can get from a group of AI debating an idea versus one AI who knows you and wants to please you and continue the conversation. So these are two things that I do in order to minimize the slop, what is called AI slop. But there is also another thing that I use, and we use it heavily in metadata, which is deterministic code. So like in AI, it's essentially called undeterministic. And what it means by that is that you run the same thing twice, you may get different results because the AI thinks differently every time. And so it's unpredictable to an extent. It's kind of the beauty in AI, but it's also unpredictable. And like some things are going to be predictable, right? 1+1 is going to give you 2. But if you ask it to create a movie and you give it more or less the same instruction, it's going to create 2 different things. And so one of the things that we do at Metadata is that we start with non-deterministic for everything. But once we see it's working, we produce enough, like let's say commercials, we see which commercials are good, which are not. We gradually make the non-deterministic function into a deterministic function, meaning we ask the AI to replace itself with code. So it writes code so that it never has to use artificial intelligence again, and it becomes predictable. So those are things that in metadata, for example, some of our customers spend, like literally some of our customers spend tens of millions of dollars a year. And so in order to avoid those things, because every mistake, like you said, can be very costly, we have so many guardrails out there. And so every budget management, every campaign pause, every campaign launched, everything that's done, every creative, they always look at your brand guidelines, your colors, they look at your budget preferences. It's every time there is something that seems risky, it will, especially when it's evolve money and budget, it will ping and raise a flag to the user to make sure everything is per the plan.
Yeah. And can you give me a real example of when that's happened before? A time that an agent got something wrong? Can you tell me about what happened and how fast did you catch it?
Yeah, well, let me think about an example. Yeah, there was one time where I was asking it to, as I'm a super user in our own system, so I was asking it to take some action, and I accidentally, I don't know if it was because of my instructions or hallucination, but it actually impersonated one of our accounts. So it got into one of our customer accounts and he was about to take some actions, which would not be a good idea. Now we use that feature for support and for admin to make sure that we can help the customers if we need to. But in this particular case, it wasn't like something drastic, but it was about to like create an audience or do something that the customer doesn't want to do and has nothing to do with the customer's, world. And so the AI did catch it and told me, hey, I just as FYI, I am in this account right now. I'm not working out of your account and I'm doing this kind of work. Are you okay with this? This is what you wanted? Was this intentional? And I've gotten a lot of these where every time a mistake happens, I ask the AI to help me. What do we need to change so that it doesn't happen again? And that works really well. And that's why I get those warnings now.
Let's talk about the data elephant in the room, right? So the input problem. Every AI-driven marketing platform sits on top of firmographic, contact data that decays constantly. Every millisecond is decay. People change jobs, companies get acquired, emails bounce. How does metadata think about data freshness and accuracy as a dependency and not just a feature?
Yeah. Well, our audience graph is comprised of around 20 different data sources and around 100 different data sets. So it's very robust. And not all data is equal. Some data we get updated every week or two. Some data we get every month. That's usually the cadence. How many people change jobs every month? I'm less worried about that. I think a monthly for firmographic is okay. Now for buyer intent, that's different. Like they're in a sales cycle this month. They're not in a sales cycle next month. They already closed the deal. So some things have to be faster in terms of the sync. What we do at Metadata is, first of all, make sure that we update the data constantly. Two, we complement the data sources that we have with some APIs. So for example, think about like Exa or Tavili or 64 AI. Those can, or even Zero Bounce, those can help you in real time clean your data and make it higher quality. So you can say, hey, I'm about to run an outbound campaign against those 2,000 segment of 2,000 people. Let me first of all run it by 64 API and Zero Bounce to first of all see if any of them change jobs so that my email is not going to be sloppy. And two, let me see that they're even going to see the email so that my spam is not going to go up the roof. And so these are things that we do constantly in our audience graph to make sure the data is high quality.
Yeah. Well, at Techsalerator and the DataSharp entities. So DataSharp recently acquired Techsalerator, Infobell, and WooSmap, and we're all data companies of different sorts. So Techsalerator is a data marketplace where we serve more than 190 countries, and we sell data sets about literally anything, anywhere there. And then at Infobell, we do company data. So B2B heavily. And at WooSmap, we do geolocation intelligence data. So, we live by, breathe by data, and we have different types of deliveries, but I could definitely resonate to the API's impact and how you can get more freshness out of it. And that's what we do the most at Techsalerator and Infobell. Now thinking about metadata, and if you were building it from scratch today, again, knowing what you know now about how fragile B2B data really is, would you build a data layer yourself or would you partner for it? What would you do?
First of all, I am rebuilding metadata all the time. I mean, we're in our third or fourth version. I think it's important for a technology company to be at the forefront and not be kind of shackled to an old code or architecture. Now, to your question, it's a tough one, but I would say it depends on where your core competency is. One of our core competencies, things that we have decided we're going to be best at, is make it dead simple for any B2B marketer to run advertising campaigns across 8 channels without worrying about any of the technical, repetitive, mundane tasks. One of those things, one of the big pillars in that problem to be solved is the audience that you're targeting. If we're relying on a third-party data, we might have an easier time because we don't have to build any of it, but we are going to rely on them and it's a single point of failure. Now, if we do all of it ourselves, chances are we're not going to do as good of a job as the other vendors. And so what we do at Metadata, and it's something that I will do again, is we partner with the data sources. We pull in all the data, all those 100 different data sets, but then we run our own data pipeline to clean it, make it higher quality, privacy compliant, etc. And then we offer that combined data set, that unified, canonized, normalized data set to our customers to use for targeting purposes. So we have a little bit of both. And it's sometimes it shows that's a good idea. For example, a few months ago, one of our data sources just went out under. The company just got acquired and the acquiring company shut it down. And we got this email like, hey, this is not going to be available next month. And it takes a while to sometimes integrate with data source. But in this particular case, we have a waterfall of all these different data sources. So if one fails, we go to the next one. And so it had zero impact on our work. And so those things are things I think about when you ask me that question.
Yeah. And it made me think and relate in a way that, let's suppose, recruiting and global talent acquisition that I do. I can do everything through spreadsheets. I can figure it out in a more manual, annoying way to do things. If I use an ATS as a third party to make my job easier and clearer and cleaner, it's going to be much better. Like using a data partner, right? So you have a specialist, you have a company that does this for a living, that has been doing this for a while. Amazing. It's probably going to be much better in the beginning if you do it in-house and create things in-house. But yeah, thank you for sharing that with me. And that definitely makes sense. Now, following up from that question, so how do your customers even find out that their data has gone stale? So is there a moment that it becomes obvious, or does it just quietly tank performance until someone digs in?
Well, the longest you can have a data, same audience being used at metadata is 90 days. If you're using something for 90 days and you haven't updated, we refresh it for you. But we usually, the optimizer will recommend or refresh it for you automatically if you allow it to. The way you would know if something is not working is the results. Are you generating leads, MQLs, opportunities at a good cost? Is the conversion between the leads that you generate and how many of them are actually qualified? Is it high? Is it like 80% or is it like 20%? And based on those things, you will know, is your data accurate? Is it stale?
I like that feature a lot. Now, talking a little bit more about your career bet. So from an engineer to marketer to founder, you've gone from software engineer to VP of marketing, founder. That's not a normal resume architecture. What's one skill from your engineering background that most marketers don't have? And it turns out to matter a lot when you're building something like metadata for your company.
I would say it's we sometimes laugh about it here, in the office. Imagine the persona of the average engineer and then imagine the persona of the average marketer. Very different people.
Very
right?
different people. Yeah.
And I tell my team here, I am in a constant struggle in my own brain about which comes out, in every conversation. And so that's the conflict part of it. But there's the benefit of it, which is I know as an engineer what's important to build because I am a user. I'm a practitioner of marketing. And so I don't build in a silo something that I think is cool that no one cares about, which is a classic, mistake that engineering founders do. And then on the other end of the spectrum, as a marketer, I know what is possible. I don't just use, I build, I create. And so I have the knowledge and I don't have any limiting thoughts. If I want something done, I think, how can I accomplish that using technology? And I have confidence in my ability to build those things. And that is a crazy unlock for me as an entrepreneur. The ability to build, especially with AI, the ability to have an idea and manifest it is mind-blowing to me. It's, I would say, one of my favorite things to do as an entrepreneur is do that.
That's awesome. And it makes total sense, the software engineering side and the marketing side complementing one another. And then you were capable of building this company that is mind-blowing, the tools and services that you provide. So good for you. And I love seeing that. You were inside two companies that went through big acquisitions before you ever started your own. So what did you learn watching those deals happen up close that you specifically built metadata around, either to repeat or to avoid?
Honestly, I've repeated many mistakes, although I've seen them. Just full honesty, I can't even count the number of mistakes I've made as an entrepreneur. But everything happens for a reason. I learned from it. And I would say one of the things I learned from being in companies that got acquired, one, I learned from one company, I won't mention it, but that basically gave away the company to the investor. And the investor plugged in and parachuted the CEO, and the company did not do well after. It kind of lost its mojo. So what I learned from, and I've seen that in two different companies. There are more companies in that portfolio that I worked on, and I've seen those things happen. And another one that I've seen is the conflict between the technical founder and the commercial, either partner or executive. And honestly, I've made that mistake, even though I knew about it, because sometimes culturally you just different animals. And, one is more of a giver, one is more of a taker, one is more extrovert, one is more introvert, etc. So those things are, even if you can't solve them always or always jump ahead of that mistake, of that hole, at least being aware of it and being conscious about it is something that is in my bag of tools. I'm like, okay.
Last question, where B2B marketing goes next? We talked a little bit more about that. You said that AI is most impacted account management, sales, reporting, outbound, executive ops inside metadata itself. Which one of those surprised you most? Like, where did you not expect AI to actually move the needle?
Honestly, I think very highly of artificial intelligence. So I am delighted and constantly push it to do more. Where am I surprised about it? I was surprised how good of commercials and like video ads. I created a show, a mockumentary with AI. I created more than 100 video ad commercials, and they're good. Like, not all of it is good, but a good chunk of it is good. And that blows my mind, what is possible on that aspect. And I think in terms of the future, I think one of the trends we will see is, there is like the legacy companies where you have to log in, click, 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 click for a whole day and make things happen. There is the AI first companies like us, where you go in, you talk, you video chat, you chat in the text, and it does everything for you. And then there is the next level, which is you don't do anything. You have an agent who is fully autonomous. They wake up in the morning, they start with the report. This is what I'm about to work on. They research your competitors. They do all of these things for you, and they operate, and they only ask you for permission or forgiveness later. And I think that is the trend we're going towards, and I'm excited about.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Gil, this was a lovely conversation. Thank you so much for your time today. I've learned so much, and yeah, hopefully we can chat again in the future and learn about what metadata is doing next. So thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you, Clara. It was nice chatting with you.